Welcome to my workshop. You are watching Casual DIY channel, and today we're going to be talking about a cordless router from trend T18S. So if you're in the market of buying a new router, you should watch this video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my experience with this tool after a year of usage. Yes, you got me right. I've had this router for over a year now, and I do have a overview video of this tool, what you actually get in the package, what it can do, and its all features, everything like that. That is in a video that I already made a year ago, and I'm going to leave a link to that video down below in the description of this one and in the pinned comment. So if you are actually interested in the features and what you get in the box, you better watch that video. In today's video though, I'm just going to be talking about my experiences with the tool, the good, the bad and the ugly, if you want to call it like that. Currently, the whole package, the one I've got exactly, is on Amazon for $239.95. So I think it's actually a very good price for what you get. Now, you do get two 4-amp batteries for this router. So straight away, you are sorted with some decent batteries. If for whatever reason you decided to go less than 4 amps, I think you're going to have a bad experience. The 4-amp batteries last a decent time, and with the fast charge, I think you can get them charged up in about 20 minutes, which is relatively quick. However, if you can, try to get the 5-amp batteries. These last forever, and with the brushless motor on this tool, it really gives a decent result, power wise, capability wise, and how long the battery will actually last. So when it comes to performance with the batteries themselves, 4 amps are fine. You get 2 in the package, so you can charge them up constantly, so you won't have any downtime. Now in the package itself, you do get 2 bases. Okay, you've got the trim base and the plunge base, so quite a nice variety. Now the trim base, as you can see just right here, is a quite decent quality. However, that plastic rubber started to come off on me probably about 3 or 4 months of usage, and as you can see, it's again peeling away. I've actually used a bit of CA glue to put it back in place, but as you can see, it's coming off again. Now the plastic black base with that lip comes in quite handy in many scenarios, but in the same way, it actually gets in the way in many scenarios as well. One of the features of this base I love and hate at the same time is the dust extraction port. Okay, you've got this transparent cover that you can put on the base and hook it up to your shop vac. Now, in most cases, as it is a trim router, it's not a problem, and it actually does its job fantastically. It really does suck up all the dust from this router, and if you're trimming anything on the edges, anything like that, it's absolutely a breeze and it works fabulously. So this is more or less my setup when I'm using the router. I've got my shop vac, and as I said, this setup works brilliantly. The problem is when you're trying to use this base with the shop vac connected, and you are actually routing something in the middle of a larger board. Now, I do not have an option in my shop vac to reduce the airflow, okay? So it basically gets sucked to the piece of timber, and it's ever so hard, sometimes impossible, to actually move it. So imagine my frustrations when I'm trying to actually route something out, a pattern in a board, and I just cannot move my router because it's just stuck to the board itself. Yes, it's definitely not producing any sawdust, anything like that, but it's almost impossible to use it. So then what? You're going to take the cover off and you're not going to use the shop vac, and you do have the dust flying all over the place. However, it is a trim base, it is a trim router, and it's best to be used on the edges. But from my experiences, it's actually nice to use it to route out a pattern on a board because it's small and it's compact and it's just easier to maneuver. So that's one of my gripes with it. When it comes also to the base, I do actually like the whole mechanism here, as you can dial in how deep you're gonna set up your router bit. So that's definitely a good side when it comes to the router base. And I have to say, when you hook up the 4 amp battery or the 5 amp battery, there's plenty of power under the hood on this machine. And what I really like about it, it's pretty quiet. If you don't run the shop vac, it's actually not bad at all. And compared to my other routers, it's dead on silent. On top of it, there's quite an interesting feature I really like about this tool, and all of them should have this really. It does come with 2 LED lights just over here on the base, and I have to say, when I'm making a pattern, cutting anything out, it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, check this out. Really gives nice and bright light so you can see exactly where you are and what you're doing. Now it's time for the second base, the plunge base. It does have a micro adjustment knob here, and I have to say the setting up here, the depth, it's that simple. There's no complicating things in it, but it's definitely working as it should do, and especially that micro adjustment is really handy in some scenarios. However, I hope you can see that the sticker that is actually showing the scale over here, that's peeling away after 1 year. Not a major deal, but you know, that's what it is. Now, as you can see, I've got the dust extraction attachment just over here. You hook up your hose to this outlet there, and I was worried that eventually this will break off, as it is quite flimsy. Now, fortunately, after heavy usage, it still is where it is. It's not broken off. However, the dust extraction on this is definitely not as good as on the trim base. Now, from obvious reasons, this is more or less enclosed and it is causing that vacuum inside, whereas in the plunge base, how it works is obviously a little bit different. So the dust extraction, when this attachment is on the plunge base, is not really that good, and it does work only in certain scenarios. If you are in the middle of the board, it's fine, not great, but if you're on the edges, anything like that, it's not great at all. However, the base itself is actually really nicely made. You've got indicators everywhere. I do like the straight edges and the rounded off edges. That actually came in quite handy on many scenarios, and the router bit is sitting there really solidly. There's no issues at all. You can obviously add a guide bush, and as we are on the topic of the guide bush, you can add it to both of the bases, the trim base as well. And in the package itself, you do get a standard guide bush with this setup. However, what I've found, the guide itself is just way too shallow. Let me just check. That comes to about 4 millimeters, okay? So you only get a 4 millimeter bush here, guys. Some scenarios that is not enough, and for those reasons I actually 3D printed my own guide bush with a 10 millimeter bush here, guys. So in most scenarios the bush itself will be fine. However, I just found it a little bit unstable, especially if I'm on the edges, anything like that. It's just a little bit too shallow. I would prefer to have it at least 5-6 millimeters, so it does have a little bit more meat on it. And you're definitely gonna need a different guide bush if you've got one of these from Trend. That's a Trend jig to cut out grooves, channels, anything like that. Quite a handy tool, to be fair, but I found the hard way that the guide bush over here was not large enough, so I've 3D printed my own, as I mentioned. So as you can see, guys, I've not really had any major problems. I think when you consider the price, this is actually a fairly decent package, and with 2 batteries you're not going to run out of juice, and it will perform absolutely fine. And to be fair, I like it so much that it became my main router in my workshop. I don't think in the past year you've seen me using any other routers, obviously apart from the router that's in my router table just over here. But other than that, this is my main router, and it can tackle light work with the trim base, but I also used it on more demanding work. It gets frustrating a little bit, as I said, if I'm trying to route out something in the middle of the board, as with the suction here is just not going to work. You just have to take off the cover and work it without the dust extraction, which is a little bit of a bummer. But to be fair, you can make some tiny holes in the plastic cover here to alleviate that problem just a little bit. But should you be doing that? Probably not. It should work as it is standard, you know, as it comes in the box. That's my opinion. And I have to say, I wasn't quite convinced to start with for a cordless router. I was really afraid that it won't have enough power and it will be cutting out on me. But I was proven wrong. It works absolutely fine. 4 amp batteries. I do not recommend anything below 4 amp. As I said, I do have 2 amp battery, and that will run out really, really quickly. 4 amp, decent performance. If you can get the 5 amp, there's no issues at all. It will run for ages. So if you are in a market of getting a router, a cordless router, I can honestly recommend this tool for light work, DIYers around your workshop, and even a little bit more demanding jobs. This will do absolutely fine. Now, remember, this is a trim router, so it's not meant to do really heavy lifting like your corded routers. But for general purpose, this is a really, really decent tool. Now, if you do have any questions about this router, you know where the comment section is. Drop me a question there. I'll try to answer to the best of my knowledge. So as you've seen, this video was just a quick update on how the tool performs after a certain amount of time. In this case, 1 year. Still works, as you can see. But if you want to check out the full specs, how it all works, what you get in the package, as I said, there's a video. I've got a video for you. The link is down below in the description of this video, and I'll leave a pinned comment to it as well, so you can go and have a look yourself. But overall, I'm really pleased with this tool, and that is still remaining my main router in the workshop. Now, if you're interested in other tools I've got around my workshop, I already got a playlist for you with all the reviews of those tools. It should appear just over here, so you can go and have a look, click, see what tools I've got and what I think about them. So hopefully I'll see you on those videos there. Take care.